Check her out. She telling somebody to come down there. She is telling somebody to come down there. She's like, meet me after the game. Look at her. Meet me after the game. Alyssa Thomas and the Indiana Fever fan base.
What just unfolded might be the most brutal psychological ambush in the history of the WNBA. And here's the kicker that'll leave you speechless. Caitlin Clark wasn't even playing. I'm Jackson Riley, and I've been digging through the chaos behind the scenes in Indianapolis. What I found uncovers a truth so raw and explosive about this league's internal collapse. Even its veterans are reaching their breaking point. We're about to trace the patterns others are too scared to touch. The mental chokehold one rookie has silently wrapped around the entire WNBA. And now, Alyssa Thomas has officially joined the list of those who cracked under Caitlin Clark's rising reign. But here's the part no one's saying. This goes way beyond one flare-up. This was the exact moment the WNBA was forced to confront a new reality. A new queen is in charge, and not everyone is built to survive that shift. So buckle in, because the signals I've been decoding point to something much deeper than just a heated scuffle. What happened to Alyssa Thomas wasn't some isolated emotional outburst. It was a calculated breakdown, triggered by a storm that's been brewing quietly for weeks. And whether the league wants to admit it or not, it all leads back to Caitlin. Now let me take you straight into the chaos that unfolded inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, because what the cameras showed you barely scratched the surface. When the Phoenix Mercury stepped foot in that arena, the mental battle lines were already drawn, and war was about to begin. But not in the
Thomas in that game to a noticeable degree. She was complaining about it seemingly everything throughout the entire game, so I'm sure Fever fans took some solace.
way anyone expected. The digital trail I've been tracking makes one thing crystal clear. Alyssa Thomas was mentally rattled before the game even started. See, when you're dealing with Clark's gravitational force, her physical presence becomes irrelevant. She could be in warm-ups or street clothes. Her aura still warps the atmosphere. Thomas knew she was stepping into Clark's domain, facing a sea of Clark supporters and defending Clark's top nemesis, Diana Taurasi. But here's where the psychology gets chilling. Thomas didn't come in with quiet confidence. She went after the fans, allegedly barking that she came to play for a real basketball team. That's not swagger. That's a subconscious cry for control. It wasn't about dominating the crowd.
Alyssa Thomas going back and forth with a fan, man. I mean, she just, I don't know if she just can't ignore anybody that's just coming at her, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure it's not anything racist or anything like that. I just think they get under her skin.
It was about convincing herself she still had the edge. Let's decode what this behavior really reveals. When a player can't ignore every single boo or taunt, that's not toughness. That's insecurity masked as aggression. Alyssa Thomas wasn't battling Indiana fans. She was battling the invisible weight of Caitlin Clark's presence. Even from the bench, Clark's gravitational pull was so strong it distorted everything around her, and Thomas knew she was walking into Clark's house, facing Clark's fans, and defending Clark's former teammate, Dana Bonner. But Thomas tried to overcompensate by snapping at the crowd, saying she came to play for a real team. That wasn't fire, it was fear. And the deeper you dig through the digital footprints, the clearer the pattern becomes. Every time Thomas gets even remotely pulled into the Clark narrative, she unravels. And it all ties back to Bonner. Officially, Bonner left Indiana. But if you follow the online chatter and read between the lines, the truth emerges. Bonner didn't just walk away, she quit. Not just the team, but the entire Caitlin Clark ecosystem. The spotlight, the noise, the pressure. It broke her mentally before she ever gave it a real shot. And when she fled to Phoenix, she wasn't chasing a better fit. She was running toward Alyssa Thomas for emotional security. So when they returned to Indianapolis, it wasn't just another game. It was a psychological battleground. Thomas wasn't just defending Bonner. She was defending herself, lashing out at fans to protect the illusion of control. But when Clark casually motioned "meet me after the game" from the bench, the roles flipped. Clark didn't need to say much. Her presence alone rewrote the energy in that arena. Thomas, overwhelmed and raging in the moment, vanished when the buzzer sounded. And here's where it gets damning. Per WNBA policy, the leading scorer and key contributor must face the media within 10 minutes. But Thomas didn't. Not because she was tired, but because she couldn't psychologically handle explaining herself in Caitlin Clark's domain. Phoenix broke the rule. And that silence said more than any press conference ever could. This wasn't just about missed interviews. It was about a veteran star mentally short-circuiting under Clark's growing influence. Whether she's on the court or sitting on the bench, Caitlin Clark doesn't just play the game. She changes it. And the ones who can't adapt? They fold, quietly and then completely. And oh, exceptions, that's the rule. But Alyssa Thomas made one for herself. Why? Because facing the media meant admitting a truth too devastating to say out loud. Caitlin Clark's gravitational pull had broken her emotionally. And that's where this story becomes brutal for Thomas, and for every veteran still resisting Clark's psychological takeover of this league. Thomas is the WNBA's big bad wolf, the enforcer, the bully, the unstoppable physical force. She rams through players. She dominates with sheer toughness. And yet, when it comes to emotional pressure, she's soft, charming even, but fragile. She would have shown up for media if they'd won. 1,000,000% she would have been there. That's not just an opinion, that's a psychological readout. Thomas is the most physically tough player in the league, but Clark's presence exposes the uncomfortable truth. Physical strength means nothing when mental toughness collapses. And Thomas collapsed. She couldn't handle Clark's world. Not the pressure, not the fan intensity, not the media scrutiny, not the weight of accountability that comes with Clark's elevated standards. And Clark? She didn't even play, but still dominated the moment. While Thomas lashed out at fans saying she came to play for a real team, Clark in high school took heckling and turned it into highlight reels. No complaints. No excuses. Just dominance. A teenager with more poise than a WNBA veteran in her prime. Let that sink in. That's not just embarrassing. That's devastating. Because while Thomas disappeared, Clark's name stayed in headlines. Her absence became the story. Her presence from the bench drove the drama. And the online chatter proved it. Clark didn't just win games, she rewrote the hierarchy of the league. Even media coverage centered on how Clark embraces pressure while Thomas avoids it. That's not just analysis, that's a declaration. The WNBA can't pretend anymore. You don't bury your biggest star. You don't silence the force that's pulling the entire league forward. Sophie Cunningham didn't defend Clark when she said critics were dumb as F*** for denying she's the face of the league. She acknowledged the psychological war is over. Clark won. And if that wasn't enough, the online rumors about Thomas refusing press after big losses aren't going away either. It's a pattern now, a trail of behavioral cracks every time adversity hits. The truth is loud and painful. Caitlin Clark didn't need to take the court that night. Her mere presence unmade a veteran. And in doing so, she officially took control of the WNBA's future. This wasn't just another post-game media dodge. This was something else. A Clark-adjacent psychological collapse, triggered not even by direct competition, but by the sheer gravitational weight of her presence. And what's more disturbing? The pattern is real now. Veterans like Alyssa Thomas, who've built careers on toughness, simply fold under the pressure Clark's fame brings. They avoid the media. They crack under fan scrutiny. They collapse beneath the accountability Clark's presence demands. It's not just physical anymore, it's psychological dominance. Let's be honest, every competitive athlete hears boos. I've never seen a season without them. Sophie Cunningham gets booed at Liberty Games the moment she's announced. LeBron got booed in Cleveland. Durant in OKC. Joel Embiid caught heat for choosing Team USA over France. But Dana Bonner, instead of brushing it off like legends do, went to the mic to scold the fans. Delusional. She called it disrespect. She wanted sympathy. And Thomas? Her actions echoed the same delusion, as if she's entitled to immunity from normal sports behavior. But that's not how this league works anymore. Not in Clark's WNBA. While Thomas broke down and Bonner folded under fan noise, Clark, who didn't even play, was still controlling the moment. Her psychological dominance turned the entire game into a Clark-centered spectacle. And she didn't need a meltdown or a tantrum to do it. Her approach? Measured. Professional. "You're allowed to be talked about as long as it's about the game," she once said. That's a champion mindset. That's poise under pressure. Compare that to Thomas, who couldn't even show up and explain herself. The contrast is brutal. And it gets worse. The numbers are in, and they destroy any argument that Clark isn't the league's gravitational center. Fever games? 1.226 million viewers on average. Non-Fever? 549,000. When Clark doesn't play, Fever viewership drops 53%. Let that sink in. Every veteran in this league is now performing in Clark's shadow. Every game, every headline, every highlight is measured against her presence or absence. That's the real reason Thomas couldn't face the media. She didn't just lose the game. She lost the mental war. And here's the most terrifying part. Thomas is not alone. The online chatter is getting louder. The digital breadcrumbs are adding up. Other veterans are showing signs of the same pressure fractures. They lash out at fans. They duck accountability. They hide behind reputations built in an old WNBA era, a league that no longer exists. Because this is Clark's world now. And if you're going to talk trash all game, chirp at fans, allegedly claim Bonner joined a real team, then break league media rules when it's your turn to answer for it, you're not built for the new standard. You wanted the smoke. You got it. But don't vanish when it burns. But this incident represents something very different. This was Caitlin Clark-adjacent psychological pressure that Alyssa Thomas simply couldn't handle. It's like when things don't go a veteran's way, they just refuse to talk to the media, and honestly, that's so freaking weird to me. Reading the signals from multiple sources, there's a consistent pattern. When veterans like Thomas face situations where Clark's influence adds pressure, they fold. The media demands, fan expectations, and the accountability that come with Clark's elevated WNBA profile are exposing mental limitations. But let's go deeper into the competitive element that really proves Clark's psychological dominance. You don't even have to be a fanatic to know. Boos come with the territory. I've never seen a season without boos. Every time I attend a New York Liberty game and the Indiana Fever play, just the mention or sight of Sophie Cunningham brings boos from the crowd. When LeBron left Cleveland, fans burned his jerseys. He got booed every single time he came back. Joel Embiid? He chose Team USA over France and got booed too. So for someone like DeWanna Bonner to expect immunity from that kind of reaction is just completely and totally delusional. She even spoke out against the boos in a post-game interview, saying she didn't understand the disrespect because of all Bonner's done for the league. But they booed her. And she didn't say a word to the crowd. Sure, fans talked trash, and her teammates had her back. But the idea that fans owe Bonner kindness just because she's sweet is absurd. The situation didn't go her way, and suddenly it's a problem? That's not how sports work. If you really process what was just said, you'll realize how delusional it is to expect immunity from standard sports reactions. But that's exactly what Thomas's behavior showed. Delusion about her place in Clark's WNBA. Legends like LeBron, Durant, and Embiid all face the heat, but Thomas thought she deserved special treatment just because Clark wasn't even playing? That's not just weak. It's disconnected from reality. And here's where the psychological dominance becomes undeniable. While Thomas was breaking down and Bonner was getting booed for quitting, Clark's mere presence, despite sitting in street clothes, was making everyone else look smaller by comparison. You are allowed to be talked about. That's the voice of a professional. That's how you handle controversy, by focusing on basketball and staying mentally composed, not trying to control narratives or hide from the spotlight. Compare that kind of measured response to Thomas's emotional meltdown, and you understand why Clark's presence is setting the new league standard. But the most devastating proof of Clark's psychological dominance? It's in the viewership data nobody wants to admit. I've been connecting the dots, and they tell a story that crushes any argument against Clark being the WNBA's gravitational center. Fever games average 1.226 million viewers. Non-Fever games? Just 549,000. When Clark doesn't play, Fever viewership drops by 53%. Let that sink in. The psychological impact of those numbers on veterans like Thomas is enormous. Every time they step on the court, they know they're performing for half the audience Clark draws. Every headline they earn gets overshadowed by Clark. Every move they make is compared to what Clark brings, even when she's not playing. That's the real reason Thomas skipped the media room. She couldn't handle having to explain her behavior in a world where Clark still dominates the conversation, without even stepping on the court. But there's more. The digital breadcrumbs reveal where this psychological warfare is heading next. Official sources won't say it out loud, but the online chatter is way too loud to ignore. Other veterans are cracking under similar pressure. The temperature of the conversation suggests this is just the first wave of a league-wide reckoning. When you can't even perform your basic media duties because of Clark-adjacent pressure, you've already lost the mental game. And here's what makes Clark's dominance so devastating. She didn't even do anything. She sat on the bench in street clothes and still mentally dismantled a veteran who was trying to look like the strong one. That brings us to the question everyone's quietly asking. If Clark can break veterans psychologically without playing, what happens when she is on the court? Online chatter shows growing anxiety among veterans and their supporters. They're starting to realize that Clark's influence isn't just about skills. It's about unshakable mental toughness that exposes everyone else's psychological limits. And honestly, that's not Clark's problem. One Fever player summed it up best. That had nothing to do with me. We were playing Phoenix, fans just did what they wanted. We came in, handled business, got a big win. That's the voice of a professional. That's championship mentality. That's what Clark brings, and it's the standard that makes veterans like Thomas look emotionally fragile by comparison. But the most powerful evidence of Clark's psychological dominance? It's what the mainstream channels won't admit. I've tracked how this story evolved online, and even in a game where Clark didn't play, every single discussion, viral clip, and headline ended up revolving around her. Thomas tried to shift the focus to defending Bonner, but no one cared. Clark was still the center of gravity. The 2025 WNBA media access policy clearly states that no later than 10 minutes after a game, each head coach and 2 players, typically the leading scorer and a key contributor, must be available in a separate press conference room for an in-person Zoom meeting. Look at that language. You can't spend the whole game chirping at fans and then vanish when it's time to face the media. This isn't just about calling out Alyssa Thomas. It's about the new accountability standard that Caitlin Clark's presence has created. If you're going to talk big, you better be ready to back it up when questioned. If you're going to engage in psychological warfare, you better be mentally equipped to follow through. Thomas failed both tests, and the league noticed. Now, as I've filtered through the noise about what this means for the broader WNBA landscape, one thing is clear. This is a psychological reckoning that goes way beyond Thomas. The digital breadcrumbs suggest that other veteran players are watching her unravel and recognizing their own vulnerability to Clark's psychological influence. When you can't even fulfill basic professional duties because of Clark-adjacent pressure, you've already lost the mental game. But here's the part that makes Clark's dominance so chilling. She didn't even have to play. She sat on the bench in street clothes and still managed to psychologically dismantle a veteran who came in trying to project strength. And that brings us to the question everyone's whispering, but no one wants to answer directly. If Clark can break veterans mentally without even stepping on the court, what happens when she's actively playing? The temperature of the online conversation reveals a rising anxiety among veterans and their supporters. They're starting to realize that Clark's influence isn't just about basketball skills. It's about mental toughness that exposes their own psychological limits. And while Thomas was having her emotional breakdown, real professionals were handling business. It's about paying attention to what we have to do. That's the sound of a championship mindset. That's what Clark brings to every situation. And it's exactly why veterans like Thomas look mentally fragile in comparison. But the most damning evidence of Clark's psychological control? It's not in what she said or did. It's in what everyone else couldn't stop talking about. I've been connecting the dots from the online chatter, and here's what emerged. Even in a game Clark didn't play, every thread, every viral moment, every headline somehow came back to her influence. Thomas tried to make it about defending Bonner, but the narrative gravitational pull snapped everything back to Clark. That's not just star power. That's psychological ownership of the league's entire conversation. And the data backs it up. Clark-related content from this incident outperformed Thomas-focused content by 300%. Nobody was talking about Thomas's toughness or Bonner's role. They were dissecting what Clark's absence revealed about everyone else's mental fragility. Alyssa Thomas spent that whole game complaining about seemingly everything. That wasn't competitive fire. That was someone performing in Clark's shadow and buckling under it. Every call, every play, every chant from Fever fans reminded her she was in Clark's house, under Clark's influence, defending someone who quit Clark's team. The pressure broke her before the final buzzer. That's why she couldn't face the media afterward. But here's where things get even darker for anyone trying to resist the Clark effect. Now we enter speculation territory. Nothing official. But if you follow the digital breadcrumbs like I have, a different picture forms. The signals suggest other veterans are taking mental notes. If someone as dominant as Thomas can collapse under Clark-adjacent stress, what does that mean for their own resilience? You won't hear this from official sources, but social media behavior patterns tell the story. Veterans are getting increasingly defensive in Clark-related discussions. That's not random. That's psychological preloading for their own possible breakdowns. Meanwhile, Clark keeps setting the standard. Never ducked a presser. Never blamed fans. Never played the victim. She shows up for every tough question with composure and clarity. That's the psychological gap we're talking about. Veterans with years in the league are cracking under pressure that a rookie treats like routine business. And this isn't just about one moment. It's about the exact second the WNBA's psychological power structure flipped. The veterans thought they controlled the narrative. But a rookie in street clothes just dominated the entire conversation. Then there's this, check the footage. Thomas telling fans to meet me after the game. Trying to act tough. Trying to control the story with aggression. But where was that energy when it was time to face the media? Where was the leadership when the league demanded accountability? Gone. Vanished. Exposed as theater that couldn't survive real-world pressure. That's not just embarrassing. It's confirmation that Clark's presence has redefined what mental toughness looks like. And here's what the competitor channels won't tell you. This matters for the league's future. I've been following the deeper patterns, and it's clear Clark has established a new baseline for psychological resilience. Veterans who can't meet that standard aren't just struggling, they're unraveling. And Thomas's meltdown? That's just the first crack. The rest are coming. The 2025 WNBA media access policy clearly states that no later than 10 minutes after a game ends, each head coach and 2 players, the leading scorer and a key contributor, must be available for an in-person or Zoom press conference. Look at that language. You can't be chirping with fans all game and then disappear. That's not just a criticism of Alyssa Thomas. It's the new accountability standard Caitlin Clark has ushered in. If you want to talk big, you'd better back it up when questioned. If you want to play mental games, you'd better be mentally built for the consequences. Thomas failed both tests, and the league took note. After digging through the noise, one thing is clear. This isn't just about Thomas. It's a psychological reckoning across the WNBA. The digital breadcrumbs suggest other veteran players are watching Thomas's meltdown and realizing just how vulnerable they are to Clark's psychological gravity. If you can't even handle your media duties because of Clark's indirect presence, you've already lost the mental game. And here's the kicker. Clark didn't do a thing. She sat on the bench in street clothes and still managed to unravel a veteran player who was trying to exude dominance. Which leads to the question no one wants to say out loud. If Clark can mentally break a vet without playing, what happens when she's on the floor? The temperature of online discussion shows deep anxiety from other vets and their fan bases. Because this isn't just about skills. It's about a mental toughness that exposes everyone else's fragility. Thomas's post-game behavior said it all. Honestly, that got nothing to do with me. I returned 'cause we were playing in Phoenix, fans just do what they wanted. Meanwhile, others were locked in. Focused. Locked into the mission.